Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 6 o'clock. Welcome to today's meeting of the South Planning Committee. Item 1, apologies for absence and appointment of substitute members.
Thank you, Chair. No apologies received, although Councillor Barter and Councillor Hack are not here yet. Thank you.
All right.
Councillor Hack has just phoned me to say he's just round the corner.
Oh,
He'll be here in a minute.
okay. Thank you. Okay. Declarations of interest. Do we have any? Councillor Bambridge.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I've got interests in 6, 7 and 8, all 3 items on the agenda this evening. I'm parish councillor as well as our WNC councillor for Silverstone Village, and I'm also a member of the community liaison group, which is representatives of all the local parishes and the local authorities and of some officers from time to time, who have regular meetings with both MEPC, who's one of the applicants, and Silverstone Circuits Limited, the other applicant. These are purely a consultative role to keep each other up to date, and there's a communications link between the communities and the companies and their events. With view to MEPC, there's no conflict in that respect, so I'd just like to declare the interest as such. With regard to Silverstone Circuits, I'm also invited there tomorrow as a guest of the directors, along with the other members of the community liaison group, and as such, I wish to declare an interest in that respect, and I understand it is correct for me to withdraw from this seat when that item is being discussed and move to the back rows, and then respond on as the local member at the appropriate time, but I won't be involved in any of the discussions or questions.
Thank you very much. Have you got that? Thank you. Any other interest to declare? No, thank you. The minutes, do we confirm the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 8th of June? Are we agreed? Thank you. Chairman's announcements, item 4. Members of the public are permitted to film, broadcast and report on the meeting, subject to the efficient running of the meeting not being affected. Only those people who have registered in line with the committee's speaking procedure may address the committee. Members of the public are requested not to call out during the committee's discussions on any item. The meeting is being webcast on the council's corporate YouTube channel. Therefore, could all those who are speaking please utilise the microphones when doing so. There are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm does sound, evacuation instructions will be given by officers. Please ensure that any devices are switched off or onto silent mode. Thank you all very much. Do we have any proposed pre-committee site visits?
There aren't any, Chairman.
Thank you. Item 6, land east of Dadford Road and south of the A43 Silverstone Park, Silverstone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Item 6 is a full application for earthworks to redistribute an existing spoil heap by creating new landscape bunds and mounds, together with associated green infrastructure within Zone G at Silverstone Park. I'd just like to highlight here that the committee plan in the agenda was not reproduced properly, and as such is a bit difficult to read, so a fresh copy has been included in the written updates just for clarity. Zone G is bound to the north by the A43 trunk road, which can be seen here. There's Winter Hills Lane, which runs alongside this edge here. This is the Wildwoods Local Wildlife Site, and then Dadford Road runs along this edge here. The application site consists of a mix of trees, scrub and grassland with hard standing. The line of the old Riding, which is a historic avenue associated with Stowe Grade 1 Historic Park and Garden, runs through the western edge of the site, roughly along this line here that I'm running with the pointer. A significant feature of the application site is the large spoil heap, which is located here. It's approximately 14 metres in height, and primary access to the site will be via an existing vehicular entrance from Dadford Road, which is located here. This is a view from the top of the slip road coming off the A43 and looking towards the back of the northern boundary of the site. You can see how the A43 is at a lower level than the application site, and the highways banking and planting provides current screening. The line of the bridleway can be seen just here, where it cuts through the landscaping into the site. This is a view from the other side of the northern boundary, looking along the length of the bridleway back towards Winter Hills. The existing boundary planting to the A43 can be seen on the left-hand side. The bridleway is in the centre and the application site situated to the right. These are some views from the access point on the Dadford Road looking across the site. The top view looks across up towards the northern boundary of the site, and the bottom view is across the development site towards the mound of earth that will be redistributed as part of this application. This is a better view of the mound of earth here, and then you've got Wildwood in the background. This is the proposed strategic planting key plan. This plan shows an overview of the development proposed on the site. Mound 1 runs alongside the A43 here. This is Mound 2, which is adjacent to Winter Hills. There's a further mound here, Mound 3, and then some landscaping which runs along the side of Wildwood and just jumps across here into this inset plan. Mound 1 will form part of the strategic and perimeter landscaping required in the outline permission for the wider Silverstone Park development. Redistribution of the existing mound on site will be overseen by a materials management plan, which will be approved by the Environment Agency prior to commencement, and will ensure that only appropriate and suitable material will be used to create the strategic landscaping and mounds. The remaining spoil from the mound will be taken off-site for disposal. A construction management plan has been approved by Highways in relation to these movements, and the routing of construction vehicles will be via the A43 and Dadford Road. This is a section of Mound 1 running alongside the A43. The bridleway is shown in the dotted green area with a mixed native hedge running along its boundary, and then the proposed mound and landscaping to the south of that. The mound will be approximately 2 metres high and have a depth of 13 metres. It will be planted with a mixture of native trees, specimen shrubs and biodiverse species rich in formal grassland. This landscape buffer sits in the same position as that required by the outline consent, but is an additional 3 metres wider. The mound has been designed to ensure that it respects and does not extend over the line of the former ride, and a gap in landscaping has also been inserted to allow the visual representation of the line of the ride to remain. And that's shown here. Substantial woodland planting has been provided along the length of the mound and in the area to the west of the ride to ensure that good screening of Zone G is obtained from the A43 and Silverstone Village. This is a more detailed plan of Mound 2, which sits adjacent to Mound 1 at the Winter Hills end of the site and provides further screening and biodiversity enhancements. This is Mound 3 at the top here, and also the landscape strip which runs down alongside Wildwood and continues onto this plan here. I'd like to finish by showing you the sections and plans to complete the set. Section AA at the bottom here shows the relationship between the A43 down to the left with the existing rising bank, highways planting and bridleway. Then the proposed mound and planting and subsequent building setback line. Section BB at the top of the plan is a section closer to Winter Hills Road showing both mounds 1 and 2. These plans show the anticipated height of the trees being around 6 metres high at 5 years, but the trees are anticipated to grow to approximately 10 to 12 metres in 15 years' time. The written updates include confirmation that Silverstone Parish Council raises no objections to the proposals. It is therefore recommended that the application be delegated to the Assistant Director for Planning and Development to grant permission subject to the conditions as set out in the committee report and any amendments to those conditions as deemed necessary. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bambridge.
Really nothing to say, except there was no comment, as said, at the parish council meeting. I've heard no comments of a negative nature at all locally. In fact, there's been quite a few people have said that probably the bund at the top there will reduce the noise heard from the circuit when the wind's blowing in that direction, and be actually beneficial from that point of view. So really is nothing to say.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair. With regards to mounds 2 and 3, how high are those? Obviously, mound 1 is 2 metres, but
Thank you. So the mound 2 is approximately 4 metres in height, and the second smaller mound adjacent to Wildwood is approximately 3 metres in height.
and next question with regards to vehicle movements, will any of the vehicles actually have to go through Silverstone Village?
The current construction traffic management plan highlights that the route will be along the A43 and using the Dadford Road. There is no mention at the moment in there of using any village routes at all.
And also with regards to the spoil that's been there, and I gather it's been there for some significant amount of time. What is the quality of that soil? Presumably it will be, sort of clay, and then presumably there will be a, sort of topsoil put on the top of it.
That's correct. So the spoil has been there for around 20 years. They think it was part of the cut and fill from the A43. It will be a mixture of material, and that the materials management plan that will be agreed with the Environment Agency will ensure that the appropriate material is reused on the site as part of the bunds, and inappropriate material will be removed from the site and disposed of.
And the very last question is, when this tree planting takes place, particularly when you think of some of the inclement weather that we've had recently with lack of rainfall, who actually looks after the new trees that are put in? Because obviously we've seen some, some sort of landscaping where, loads of them have died off.
Thank you. So we've got a landscape management plan that's come in with the application, and that is actually for a period of 15 years on this site, and that's to tie in with the outline permission.
Thank you very much, Officer.
Thank you very much, Councillor Clubley.
Yeah, just actually further from Councillor Pritchard, you mentioned how high the landscaping and the trees are going to be after 5 years. Is there any intention to start with to put any mature trees or hedging along there so that it grows even quicker?
They're not at the moment. We've not got a proposal to include mature trees. It is a huge bank of landscaping that they're putting in there, and there is already the landscaping that's adjacent to it on the A43. So the cost of putting mature trees along there would be quite prohibitive. So these are the current proposals that we've got at the moment.
Councillor Stone.
Thank you. Can we be assured that there's no toxic material in any of the bunds that are going to be displaced and removed? And could you tell me, do we know how many vehicle movements is going to be generated by this development, and who is going to be impacted by them? The reason I'm asking is because I think most earthworks vehicles are still diesel. And I'm a bit worried about the polluting impact and who's going to be, first impacted by that?
Thank you. So in terms of your first question, the materials management plan will again look at the quality of the soils that's coming off, and we'll look at any contamination, rubbish or anything like that that's within that mound. There is also an unexpected contamination condition that's on the application. So should they encounter any contamination at any point during the works, then there's a condition there that requires them to come back into us and get that discharged. In terms of the traffic movements, there are traffic movements detailed in the construction traffic management plan, which has been approved by the local highways authority. And as I said previously, they will be running along the A43 and using the Dadford Road to enter and exit the site. We've had no concerns raised on this application from environmental protection in terms of air quality.
Will there be a condition about the use of vehicles, whether they're diesel, electric, hybrid, whatever? Or are we just going to ignore the fact that we've got a climate emergency and we need to condition these things?
Any condition we impose has to be enforceable. So the difficulty with the condition I think you're suggesting is it's probably going to be outside of the applicant's control, because those vehicles, it's how they control every contractor, subcontractor, etc. Because I know this issue's come up on other applications historically. I've sort of been dealing with officers and advising councillors on. There is an inherent difficulty, I think, in what you're proposing.
I understand, and change is never easy, but I think it's a matter of principle, isn't it, that maybe outside of this meeting we need to have another look at, because it's not a satisfactory position, to be honest. But Chair, beyond that, could I request, because I'm new to this area, I know Northampton very well, but this is new to me, could I request we do site visits when we have planning applications coming to us?
Mr. Roger.
I mean, in terms of why we didn't propose a site visit in advance for this particular application, there isn't sort of local interest in this. It's not in itself contentious. There's no policy conflicts. So, but in terms of the principle of doing site visits, I have agreed with the chairman that he and I are going to speak next week in terms of what we think is coming forward, and if there are applications that it would assist committee to do a site visit, that we are going to. I anticipate there will be cases when this committee is doing site visits in effect, but there were various reasons why we didn't think in this case. There's also actually the timing of these reports was such that we couldn't get them to June committee, and we wanted to get them on the July committee, but there's a problem with the Silverstone circuit at the moment that's rather busy. There was also a logistical thing, and I think they've been in shutdown in effect for the past 2 weeks. So there's various, so there was sort of various reasons that slightly weighed against a site visit, we felt, but I think in the future, yes, I agree that there will be applications that it makes sense for the committee to do a site visit in advance.
On the subject of site visits, I'm keen to seize the opportunity for the committee to make site visits where appropriate, so that we can all have a common understanding of the area that we're dealing with. And so the rural members, they're less familiar with the urban area and vice versa and so on. So if there are good cases that for us to make visits, I would like to see that we can do that. Thank you. Councillor Bambridge.
Yeah, I'd just like to quantify a point that was brought up then. Having been in the commercial vehicle world for most of my life, the availability of particularly construction vehicles that are non-diesel powered at the moment is minuscule. They are under development, but it would not be practical for anyone to, on certainly of a project of this side, to be able to obtain enough vehicles and operate them efficiently, particularly with electric power. We're looking as point of interest at electrifying our refuse collection vehicles at the moment, and that's a project that's ongoing, but it is really new technology. And although cars are quite common, to move a 30-ton truck with batteries and the weight of them is quite challenging, to say the least. So just like to qualify that.
Thank you. Councillor Bagot-Webb.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I'd like to agree with my colleague over here about the site visits. We're very rural based. We need to learn about the town, large town areas. So I'd welcome the opportunity to visit Northampton on a regular basis. But coming to my 2 points, one we've just touched on with regards to vehicle movements. You gave a reasonable answer, officer, but do we have any numbers so we could get a feel for how many truck movements per day and over what period? Then I'll come to my second question.
Yes, just bear with me for a second.
I mean, the reason for asking is we've got significant amount of trucks for HS2 currently, and then there's going to be the work at the US Air Force Base with their new entrance, which is also going to have more trucks. So it's just an awful lot going on.
Okay, so in the construction traffic management plan, the anticipated delivery date of construction vehicles and equipment is in September. And there's approximately 10 HGV vehicle movements to deliver the construction elements. And again, the collection of those will take place in November, another 10 highway vehicle movements. In terms of materials removal, we're looking at mid-September for a period of 10 weeks. And that is in total around 55 vehicle movements per day, Monday to Friday. And that's utilising an 8-wheel 20-ton road tipper.
So about 5 an hour, which is probably quite small compared with all the other traffic on the A43. Thank you for that, at least it's clarified it. And finally, it's really a question, is the overall objective to remove the mound, or is the objective to build a bung?
I would say it's twofold. So the mound has to be removed to facilitate the development of Zone G as part of the wider Silverstone Park outline permission that was granted. But what they're doing is they're utilising what they can of that to enhance the strategic perimeter landscaping that they had to do again under the outline. So there was no mound or bund proposed in the outline on the strategic landscaping. So this is actually lifting, if you like, that planting a little bit higher and helping that screen.
So it's enabling the spoil to be moved around the site rather than moved off site.
Exactly, that's
Generally.
it. So some will come off site,
Okay.
but some is being used on site.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The application would have my support.
Sorry,
Mr. Roger.
if it helps members in terms of that construction traffic management plan, condition 6, if you wanted to do what I call belt and braces, you could add an extra line in that makes it absolutely explicit that the construction traffic is the Dadford Road A43. Because what the condition is at the moment is saying that the 14-page document must be complied with. But if you want, as I say, if you wish to do an absolute belt and braces, I can't see any reason why you couldn't add an extra line to that condition. So it specifies precisely that in plain English, the lorries aren't to go through the surrounding villages such as Silverstone.
Thank you. Councillor Stone.
Sorry, one of the questions I asked earlier wasn't really answered. So how close are the nearest residences, and are there going to be households who are going to be impacted by the vehicle movements?
Mr Smith.
Thank you. So the majority of residences are within Silverstone Village, so they shouldn't be impacted by vehicle movements using the A43 and Dadford Road. There are two properties that are on the opposite side of the Dadford Road, near to Aston Martin's development. But given the number of movements that are taking place, we wouldn't anticipate that they'd be adversely affected by the proposals.
Thank you.
We've had an expression of support for the application. Would anyone like to make a proposal? Councillor Pritchard.
Could we actually go forward and concur with what the planning officer said with regards to this particular proposal? I also would like to take the opportunity that was actually put forward, that we actually were put into a condition that the lorries contained will actually use the A43 rather than go through any of the villages as a condition.
Okay. Second. Councillor Sharps.
I would like to mention again that the A43 is already a busy road, and to just say that the traffic can go down the A43 is not a sensible thing to do.
Mr. Roger.
Sorry, I'd have to disagree, because the alternative it is the traffic goes through the villages, which surely can't be the right answer. So I'm afraid I'd have to disagree there.
I'm purely saying that when it comes to it, I have no problem with the traffic as it is here, but just to say it can't go through villages when it comes to diversions, as we know with the highways, it has to. So we can't have ride or die is what I'm kind of saying when it comes to that.
Councillor Cooper.
So following on from Councillor Sharp, I feel uncomfortable about that. How you can't police that. No, you can't police that they won't use the villages. Yeah, so I can't agree. I can't agree that I think we need the condition that they use the 43. I can't. We can't have them being able to go through the villages if the 43 is roadblocked.
I'll explain for Danielle. The A43 is one straight road. The villages will get spread out like this. Unfortunately, if we have a roadblock or an issue somewhere, the roads may well divert off. It's my instinct is that we might have more of an issue if we have a diversion.
Well, perhaps
like a resolution for when we have diversions. That's what I would like. Sorry, James.
Perhaps Mr. Woods can offer a solution here.
Can I make another point, Chair? The traffic, the tippers are going to have to go out and then return to the site again. If they're coming from the Brackley direction, they have to come in through part of Silverstone Village, or they have to go all the way down to Toaster and all the way back up again, which is a waste of air quality and everything else. Them just coming up and into the village to turn into Dadford Road is virtually, it happens every day, all day. It's not going to cause any issues. So I think if the wording, I think, would settle most people, is that the use of the A43 should be at all times unless otherwise prevented from doing so, or it causing unnecessary distance to travel, or words to that effect.
Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Chair. So just to summarise, you could suggest the strengthening of the construction management plan to prevent the passage of construction vehicles through the centre of Silverstone Village, because obviously the committee are aware of that right turn into Silverstone off the A43 right to the Dadford Road. So you could suggest something along the lines of construction vehicles being prevented from passing through the centre of the village, whether my colleagues agree with me. Just to summarise the debate.
The officers are scribbling furiously here. Are we there yet?
Yeah, I was obviously trying to help committee in effect, but I fear I may have hindered slightly.
Councillor Bagot-Webb.
I think, Chair, we're getting into minute detail here because 55 vehicles over the 12-hour period is minute compared to the amount of traffic and heavy traffic on the 43. If we're talking about blockage on the 43, we're talking about thousands of vehicles a day being affected, not 55. In principle, I totally agree with what's being said. We shouldn't be allowing them to go through Dadford, which is the village that's going to be affected. But Councillor Bambridge made a good point. Vehicles have got to come in and go through the tip or the very edge of Silverstone, but that's always been like it. And we're going to 150,000 people on Sunday making that same journey.
Okay. Mr. Roger? Councillor Stone?
Sorry, Chair, I should have asked this earlier. There's a bridle way, and so presumably people take their horses along there. Are they going to be impacted by what's going on?
Ms. Smith?
Thank you. In terms of the bridleway, we did consult with the British Horse Society and also the Rights of Way people at Northampton County Council. We've had no objections come through. They're not actually affecting the bridleway as such physically, but there have been some recommendations from the British Horse Society that we will be included in the informatives, and they've been sent to the agent as well and the applicant.
Are we clear about the amendment to the condition, or do we go with what we've got?
Well, I think Councillor Bambridge made a sensible suggestion in terms of how to alter the wording so that it encompasses both the majority of the vehicles, but also when vehicles are required to
So have we got the revised wording for a condition then?
in terms of the final
Yes.
wording.
Or do you wish to delegate a change?
I mean, to be honest, perhaps the easiest thing is if committee are happy to delegate to officers, then we can ensure that it's worded in a way that has the desired flexibility in effect, but is nonetheless ensuring that vehicles are wherever possible using the A43.
Okay, well, you've heard the concern of members. You've had the local
Yeah.
knowledge from Councillor Bambridge.
Yeah.
Councillor Pritchard.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Once again, I propose that we accept the recommendation by the officers in line with the condition that actually we've delegated responsibility for the officer to actually put the appropriate wording forward that contains, where possible, you know, the lorries will actually utilise the A43 as opposed to using the villages.
Right. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bagot-Webb. Does anyone wish to speak on this? All those in favour, please show. Oh, unanimous. Thank you very much. Item 7, the proposed karting circuit, Silverstone Circuit, Dadford Road, Silverstone. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Item 7 is a full application for the provision of a karting facility, including a 2-storey building to provide briefing areas, race control, support and spectator facilities, single-storey scrutineering building, a new karting track, technical and paddock areas of hard standing, fencing, car parking, earthworks, and a site for the temporary event stage. The circuit is located partly in Northamptonshire and partly in Buckinghamshire, as depicted by the green line on this plan, which I appreciate isn't very easy to see, but it runs along here. You can just follow my pointer. So the area to the north is within West Northamptonshire Council, to the area of the south of the line is within Buckinghamshire Council. The majority of the site associated with this application is located within West Northamptonshire Council. However, a small section close to the Silverstone Interactive Museum falls within Buckinghamshire. Item 8 on the agenda is the neighbouring authority consultation for Buckinghamshire Council on the same development, and this presentation therefore applies to both items 7 and 8. Silverstone Circuit is located to the south of Silverstone Village and is set in an area predominantly rural in character. The nearest settlement is Silverstone Village, with smaller settlements of Whittlebury and Dadford approximately 3 kilometres to the northeast and 4 kilometres to the south, respectively. The application site is located in the centre of Silverstone Circuit and accessed via the main entrance. The site is bound by the Wellington Strait, which runs along here, Brooklands and Luffield corners of the main Silverstone Circuit racing track. The Silverstone Interactive Museum is located to the west. It's located here. This is the main entrance here. The site is covered in hard standing and grass and is utilised during events for the Formula One fan zone, classics fan zones and other temporary structures. It houses part of the old historic track, which will be reutilised as part of the karting facilities, the current temporary stage location and an existing technical and paddock area. So this is a photo montage which gives good feeling for the site. The top photograph here is looking across the site towards the entrance, which comes along here. This is the Silverstone Interactive Museum. And this behind this tree-lined area is what is known as the farm with BRDC area. Then we've got various other views across the site. And you can see that it is predominantly fairly level with the bridges, etc., that run over the track areas. We've got a tunnel that links two parts of the development here, but it is level access between the two. And further photographs here again across the site. This is the entrance that comes in. You can see the line of trees that are outside of the application site here. This is part of the old historical track that will be reused. So this is the proposed site plan. It shows the proposed development in its context. The karting track is located in the centre of the development, with the karting building located near the internal roundabout here. The dual uses of the site are evident on this plan, with the race technical area for karting also doubling up as the site for the temporary event stage and back of house functions. So that's this area here. On karting days, this would be used for karting, parking, etc. But during major events, this is the new location for the temporary event stage. You can see here when an event is on, there would be structures put across the karting track to control people. There are also toilet blocks, screens, etc. that would go on this area of the karting track in that event. And a new fence would be put up along this side here to protect the area. This is just a plan to show how the karting track can be separated from one karting track into 3 different smaller tracks. You've got the blue area, the red track and the orange, or there can be a combination of 3 depending on how the track is being used at the time. So this is a plan of the elevations of the main karting building. The elevation of the top at the top is that which would face the karting track and includes a first floor viewing balcony. The building sits opposite the Silverstone Heritage Museum and has been designed to reflect its utilitarian character and appearance, with interest added in the design of the balcony, glazed panels and variation in materials. Excuse me. These are the other elevations of the karting building. The elevation at the top is the public-facing elevation as you enter the site. The panel on the left-hand side here is a decorative mesh panel that would have the Silverstone branding on to add interest. This is a view of the ground floor plan. The ground floor accommodates the more multifunctional uses of the building. So you've got on the left-hand side, the sort of more public karting area, where you've got the helmet suit storage areas, toilets, changing facilities and briefing rooms. And the right-hand side accommodates the karting workshop. And then the first floor accommodation mirrors that. You've got the cafe area on the left-hand side here, and that opens out onto the viewing balcony and provides flexible space here, which could be used as a further briefing or lecture area should that be required. The right-hand side of the building is again related to the karting aspects. It's the technical race control section of the building, providing office space, commentary, timing, stewards' rooms on that side. This is a roof plan of the proposed karting building to show the proposed solar panels there in the light blue. And to finish, there are a couple of 3D illustrations of the building. This is firstly looking back at the building from within the track, and secondly looking at the entrance. The written updates include confirmation that Silverstone Parish Council have no comments on the application. An update is provided from Environmental Protection, who have advised that air quality is their main concern, and they have proposed a condition requiring air quality monitoring. The conditions within the written updates cover the time limit for implementation, the approved plans and documents, ecology recommendations, karting opening hours, use of the temporary event stage and temporary parking areas, finished floor levels, archaeology, a landscape and ecological management plan, construction method statement, air quality monitoring plan, surface water drainage scheme, tree protection measures, crime prevention security measures, compliance with the transport statement, the noise management strategy, landscaping, materials, EV charging points, mobility and cycle parking, unexpected contamination, renewable and low carbon technologies. It's therefore recommended that the application be delegated to the Assistant Director for Planning and Development to grant permission subject to the conditions as set out in the written updates and any amendments to those conditions as deemed necessary. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And we have the agent for the applicant to speak to us, Jane Locksmith. Thank you. If you come forward to the table. If you press the button in the center of the microphone, the red light will come on. Please speak when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening.
Could you speak closer to the microphone, please? You can pull it closer to you.
Not used to this.
Yeah.
Right, good evening.
You have 3 minutes.
My name is Jane Locksmith. I'm the Managing Director of Cube Design. I'm an architect, master planner, and have been working at Silverstone Circuit since 1998. I was responsible for a number of the development briefs, including the joint development brief between the two authorities, which established the development for the circuit. I was also responsible for the outline planning consent, which was granted by the authority in May 2017. Our application before you is for a karting facility. It's a circuit as well as a building and also some associated facilities, which include a scrutiny ring building. It's relatively small scale in terms of the building itself. It's just over 1,000 square meters. It's a 2-story building. The height of the building is limited by the overall master plan and the development heights which were contained within the outline planning consent. It's located in the centre of the circuit. It is accessed from the main boulevard, and access will be provided to the karting facility and to car parking facilities. The karting track is approximately 1,400 metres. It is designed to be certified by the FIA and also CIK. But the main intent of the karting facility is to act as a retail / leisure opportunity in terms of Silverstone. As mentioned in the original outline planning application, Silverstone is a world-class facility, and we're looking to
the leisure facilities at the circuit. The karting facility will link to the SIM, so the Silverstone Interactive Museum, the new hotel which is established on the site, and also the Escapade development, with the intention to provide family entertainment as the circuit itself. The outline planning application covered this area and it was known as the Family Entertainment Centre. In terms of the motorsport offering, this will actually aid the circuit in developing long term. As many of you may know, that the racing drivers actually start undertaking karting. And so it's very much the circuit's belief and requirement to create a karting facility. And it did have one originally actually in the SIM building, which was the original hangar building. So this is the vision for the circuit. In terms of the development of the proposals, all of the studies have been undertaken in accordance with their outline planning application and permission from May 2017. We've undertaken detailed studies to cover ecology, habitat, flora, fauna, contamination, noise, air quality, drainage, SUD, so sustainable urban drainage, sustainability, which is key to the circuit. The circuit
Thank
is
you very much.
currently-
I must stop you there. Your time's up.
Okay.
If you'd remain there in case of questions from members, please. Any questions for Ms. Jane Lott-Smith? Yeah, Councillor Sharps.
Yeah, you mentioned concerns and that you've done a good job regarding trying to answer them. It does say in the environmental protection comments here that a noise and air quality mitigation. Could you just tell me a little bit more about what you've done there, please?
Okay. We have specialist consultants who assist the circuit. So this isn't just for the karting facility. This is 365 days a year. The noise assessment, there are noise monitors set all the way around the circuit. And we have a noise management strategy, which has a traffic light system. So when we extend into an amber area, that sets an alert to the circuit. The noise management strategy document itself is available to officers. It is obviously, because of commercial reality, it's quite a confidential document, and particularly the data, but we're happy to share that with officers. But we are very, very keen to make sure that we manage that. Air quality, we have the same element. So the air quality is measured in terms of the assessment calculators, and we've also identified in the air quality provision a contribution which would be given back to public transport as a result of the air quality, and that's documented in our proposal.
Thank you very much. It's very impressive. Thank you.
Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you. With regards to the carts themselves, will they actually be fueled or will they actually be electric?
Is the proposal to be 50-50? So Silverstone's proposal is to be carbon zero to be the first circuit in the world to be carbon zero. And so they're pushing the technology. So the carts themselves will be 50-50 electric and also fuel. So that in terms of aiding the process. And as we evolve, it will develop accordingly. The one other point I did want to mention is sustainability. We have the air source heat pumps, but also charging in terms of the carts as well as the cars. And that is again at the forefront of the technology for Silverstone.
Thank you.
Councillor Daniel Stone.
Thank you. When you do the air monitoring, are you going to be doing just the outside? Or are you looking at air quality within the buildings? Because the latest research is showing that toxicity outside obviously gets absorbed into buildings, and that causes a bit of an issue.
There's total monitoring. So the monitoring exists inside the building. So there are specific design monitors incorporated in the cafe area, in the public area, including the area where the helmets and the suits are taken, because there's also contaminants. So the contaminants on the suits themselves. The workshop also has a ventilation system. So that will all be monitored as well. We also have a race control small suite, and that will all be monitored as well. So again, it's all part of it's the well-being It's well-being for the staff and also for the users of the building.
Councillor Sharps?
So it's one further question. It says about light here and lighting options. It is quite detailed actually, but you're talking about light spill, and that's quite an issue where we live, and in the surrounding areas. Could you just tell me a little bit more about what you intend to do with that when you move forward?
Okay.
That'd be helpful.
The lighting again will be monitored. So just to give you confidence in terms of if there is a race event, the races finish at 4 p.m. so they don't continue into the evening. From a retail operation point of view, again, the circuit will monitor the lighting and any impact. They also are the newest LED lighting, so they actually are looking at lighting down onto the surface and not light spill. I've spent many hours at Silverstone looking at the light spill from other buildings, and we are making sure that we are actually keeping our light spill minimum. The other advantage is our lights are actually removable. So we are able to take the lights down, particularly because of the event activity. So the idea is that they will be demountable as well.
That is fantastic, actually. Thank you very much. Good to know.
Are there any further questions for the agent? No? Thank you very much. Local ward member, Councillor Bambridge. Yes, and you have 3 minutes as well.
Good afternoon, councillors. You mustn't underestimate how important a karting circuit is to Silverstone. Certainly got the support of the parish council and the local people. Most of the world's top racing drivers have started by karting probably from the age of 8 or even younger, and they learnt their skills there. It's the breeding ground for racing drivers, and particularly the top ones. Silverstone has a history of karting. It used to have the karting Grand Prix year after year, and it also had indoor karting in the building that's today the museum. But the circuit became unsuitable for the type of kart racing today. So this is going to bring it into the modern day, if you like. Also, it's going to be important for the future of Silverstone circuits from a financial point of view. It's going to create jobs. It's going to bring more visitors to West North Hants who will stay in our homes, hotels, and eat our food, etc. So you've heard about the environmental aspects of this, and karts certainly have been in the early stages of using alternative fuels and now electricity. The actual racing itself is in the hands of the FIA, the Federation of International Autosport, and they are working hard, particularly on alternative fuels and electric, to reduce the impact on the environment. That's really all I've got to say on this.
Thank you very much. You're welcome. Who's going to go first? Let's start the debate. Councillor Stone.
It sounds like a really worthwhile and a really well thought through project to me. My only slight hesitation is about the users. Silverstone is really, really expensive. There's going to be quite a huge cohort of young people who might like to try the facilities there, but are prevented because they are poor. We've got an anti-poverty strategy. I think we need to have a view, don't we, of how to have an inclusive approach to these things. I'm just wondering if there's been any conversation with Silverstone about how they're going to manage that.
Mr. Roger.
I think the honest answer is we haven't had that conversation. It's been viewed as a commercial enterprise that, so our focus has been more on the environmental aspects of its, hence why the agent, I think gave some very good answers to a number of the environmental issues.
I think that's right, and I applaud that, and I really liked hearing it as well. But I think in all our dealings, we're a public body. And I think in all our dealings, what we ought to be saying, and we often do, so I'm just wondering why we're not here, you know, that there needs to be an ethical component, you know, commerce, we're asking people to consider social value, aren't we? When
Well,
we're
let's not
issuing
lose sight of the
contracts.
fact that we're here today to determine planning applications on the basis of planning policy. Councillor Clubley.
Yeah, I would just like to add that I think this is just going to be a fantastic addition to Silverstone Park, and I'm very much in favour of it. And I'd just like to make one comment on from Daniel. I have on occasion been to Silverstone, and the managing director of Silverstone does all he can to promote and encourage local children. And an example of that, Daniel, is on Sunday night, there will be a market in Towcester, because every piece of food that is left over from this luxurious weekend will come to Towcester. And I can tell you, it is like a market. There are crates full of fruits, vegetables, goodies, fruit juice, every sandwich. And 7 o'clock on Sunday night, there'll be like a market in Towcester. Everything that they've got left over, they give free of charge to the community. So they really do try their best to encourage everything within the local community and to support it.
Okay, Councillor Pritchard.
Thank you, Chair. I must admit, this is probably one of the best applications that I've seen with regards to, you know, the environment and all the other elements that actually go towards an application. I certainly commend the actual establishing a go-kart track there. And also, I'm sure from a design perspective that it certainly encourages a lot more population that's going to come to this part of Northamptonshire. And I would certainly recommend and compliment the design and also the circuit itself for actually even proposing it. And if I may say, the officer actually has done a very good job in actually presenting some of the photographs and the indications of what it would really look like.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Hack.
Thank you, Chair. I think Councillor Stone, she does make a very valuable point in terms of community engagement. I think, although it's not a planning reason, but I think going forward, Silverstone is a very big entity, institution. And I think, you know, for example, how many times have you invited the school kids from the local villages to come and participate? So I think, you know, going forward, I think we need to have more community engagement. So I think Councillor Stone does make a valid point, although it's not a planning reason, but I think she does make a valid point. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Councillor Sharps.
I'm a youth councillor, and so what can I say? We're on a planning committee currently. All good feedback. It's a sound plan. It will enhance our area. It won't be local children that will be attending. They won't be able to afford to, but that doesn't mean to say it won't inspire them to become go-karters. It doesn't mean it won't inspire them to go on into Formula One. That's the point of this. And it doesn't mean to say that it won't impact our economy by bringing forward jobs and all the other things that we want here. So it's a good, sound plan, well-resourced, well-focused. So yeah, I think it's very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Okay, well, we have a recommendation before us. I'll need a proposer. Councillor Pritchard, a
Yes,
seconder.
As
Councillor Hack. Does anyone wish to speak? No? All those in favour, please show. Those against? None. Thank you. Now, we need to take a second vote but this will be on item 8. But essentially, this is a consultation in a neighbouring authority for this same proposal. So do officers wish to introduce this item?
Thank you, Chair. So item 8 on the agenda is, as you've said, the neighbouring authority consultation from Buckinghamshire Council. It covers exactly the same development as discussed and presented in the previous item, item 7. It's therefore recommended that the application be delegated to the Assistant Director for Planning and Development to confirm that we raise no objections to Buckinghamshire Council, subject to the conditions as set out in the written updates and any amendments to those conditions as deemed necessary. Thank you,
Thank you
Chair.
very much. Councillor Bambridge, do you wish to speak? Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to speak?
Just a very, when you
Hang
actually-
on.
Oh, sorry, Chair.
Does the agent wish to speak? No.
Just as a point.
Sorry, Pritchard.
When you actually look at the original plan, it's minuscule, the amount that comes under. Is there actually any building on that land?
Ms. Smith?
It was just a question, that's all, with regards to, not so it would affect any decisions, but it's so minuscule at the bottom there, it just seems that, to involve our friends in Buckinghamshire is.
It is a very small part that's in Buckinghamshire on this application. All of the buildings as such are within West Northants area.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. So does anyone else wish to speak? Can I have a proposal for the recommendation? Councillor Pritchard? And
It's
a
me again,
seconder?
isn't it? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Seconder, Councillor Bagot-Webb. Does anyone wish to speak? All those in favour, please show. Thank you. We're unanimous. It's carried. Thank you all very much. And with that, I close the meeting at, 3 minutes past 7. Thank you very much for coming. As there is no urgent business. Yes.